work with the legislature to continue that. We have the opportunity with this next fiscal year to have paid down 49% of the state's historical debt. You know, our guys are smart. They'll buy the bonds at a discount on the open market. They retire it. So we end up saving hundreds of millions of dollars in interest costs. And the result has been Florida has the lowest per capita debt of any state in all 50 United States. So we're proud of that. Now, how much different is that than Washington, D.C.? And I think that what you're seeing with like what Elon Musk is doing, he's going in, they're going into these agencies with these DOGE guys, and they're identifying and rooting out taxpayer dollars that are being wasted by the many hundreds of millions, maybe even billions of dollars, depending on the agency. So you have these things like USAID. They'll talk about a big game about what it's accomplishing, but really, I mean, it's almost like a corrupt scheme where they're funneling money to political supporters and trying to promote an ideological agenda. And so they're doing a good job exposing, you know, really, really deep corruption into how the federal administrative apparatus actually operates. And I think that's great. And when the president announced that Elon was going to do this back during the campaign, a lot of people were like, well, cutting spending, only Congress can do that. And so, you know, you run $2 trillion deficits, you actually have to get Congress to reduce spending. That's not something they've been willing to do. And I think that still is a big question mark. But on identifying how this stuff is being laundered throughout the bureaucracy, I think this is a really, really positive development. But I also think you have to point out this fact that the only reason it is developed to this point where you have some of these organizations funneling money, they're even funneling it to favorable media outlets to be able, presumably, to get good coverage. How did it get to the point where any of this would be happening with your tax dollars? And the basic reason is that Congress has failed at its core responsibilities to use the power of the purse and conduct the oversight that they are empowered with under the Constitution, because what they do is, when it comes time to spend money, so like in the state, you know, we have a budget every year, legislature's only in part-time, but when things happen, I remember my first few years as governor, we had problems with one of the organizations that was doing our anti-domestic violence initiatives. Corruption, laundering money. Like the next week, the legislature came in and zeroed that out. I also have line item veto. If there's things that don't pass muster, I can do that. So we have all ways in the state to make sure tax dollars are being spent well. And obviously, we have a very limited budget, even though we do the core things. In Washington, they pass these massive thousands of pages of legislation, omnibus bills. Nobody can even read it. They literally will negotiate behind closed doors. They put it out, and then 8 hours later, you're supposed to vote on a 2,500-page bill. And it's not even just like reading 2,500 pages in the sports section or something of the newspaper, because what it'll be is, we're going to amend Section 35A3, so you have to cross-reference. If you really wanted to know what's going on, you'd have to cross-reference. It would take you days to be able to do it, and then that's trillions and trillions of dollars. Sometimes they'll just do continuing resolutions where the money's on autopilot. So what that, and that's for years. You look at the last 15 years, Republicans have controlled the U.S. House of Representatives more than Democrats have controlled the House of Representatives, and that's where the power of the purse is. And so it's been a failure in Congress to actually safeguard the money and use their power of the purse to police bad behavior. So the bureaucrats, they know the federal government's on autopilot. They know they're going to do these massive omnibus or continuing resolutions, and there's really nothing that's going to happen. So of course they are going to engage in bad behavior. That's human nature when there's not any types of checks and balances. So I think what Elon is doing is really good. I think it's great to be able to see a lot of the corruption being rooted out. But ultimately, the people you elect and send to Congress, They need to do a better job of protecting your tax dollars and defunding corrupt agencies in the first place. That was the whole logic of our constitutional system, that you would never have to fear what the government would do, because if you elect people, they can simply take away the money that the executive arm of the government was doing, and they haven't been able to do a good job. So we should not have a fourth branch of government. We should not have a bureaucracy that's immune from any accountability. The DOGE is kind of the first really significant intrusion into the bureaucrats' aura of invincibility, that somehow they can't be touched. And you're seeing the apple cart be upended. And so that's a great